Welcome to Rewatch-and-Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Criminal Minds Season 2, Episode 14, The Big Game. Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happens in the episode. So the episode begins with a couple having a Super Bowl party as their last guests leave. The unsub, in this case Tobias, comes into the home, calls 911 saying that he's going to murder them because of their greed, and then proceeds to do just that before posting the video online. When he posts the video online, this leads Garcia and the others to realize that he is remotely entering into the computer of the victim, and that's how he got the recording and how he had been watching them, and that it is likely that he will be watching other people as well, as mission-based unsubs don't stop at just one kill. We then see that Tobias had a very troubled childhood where his father was abusively religious, and this ended up, of course, leading to him having, well, as it's revealed at the very, very tail end of the episode, a split personality, one of which is his father. Anyways, it is shown that Tobias works in tech support and is able to remotely access people's computers. And once he's been given that permission, instead of ethically removing the remote access, he keeps it there. And these people, of course, not being tech savvy, aren't aware of this. And he happens to catch a woman in an affair, which leads to him killing the man that she had an affair with and then kidnapping her. And he proceeds to feed her to dogs, once again filming it, which gets back to the team. Meanwhile, to try to figure out who it is that they were looking for, JJ had gone through some files at the FBI, and Tobias's name came up as being a witness to a potential prowler in the neighborhood where the first victims lived. So her and Reed go out to this Tobias's farm, and once they arrive there, Tobias is acting cagey, won't let them inside, and Reed then decides to just go and look through a window and sees the wall of computers and the fact that it's spying on a bunch of people, and is caught by Tobias, who then runs out to the barn. Reed and JJ follow, but then Reed unwisely splits up from JJ, which then leads to JJ finding the body. Meanwhile, Reed chases Tobias into the cornfield and ends up held at gunpoint, and that is the cliffhanger we end this episode on. But now that we've been reminded about what happened in the episode, it is time to rank the episode, first on our mostly objective ranking list, followed by the personal ranking list. And we start with our single episode supporting character introductions. So at the station where they are basing out of, we have Agent Franks, who only appears in this episode. Or he could potentially be in the next one, but I didn't see his name listed, and I'm going based on, the characters listed online. So either way, there was Agent Franks. Then Helen Douglas is, of course, the victim given the most screen time because she is actively kidnapped, and then her death is made slow and then filmed and posted. We then have our multi-episode supporting character introductions. Because this episode goes into the next one, Tobias Henkel is obviously in both. Detective Faraday is in both. The coroner, Dr. Tony Wilson, is in both. And then Samuel is a very bit part in this one. At the start of the episode, when the team is about to be called, Gideon is at the Smithsonian looking at a piece of art being shown by Samuel. However, he does recur into another episode later, which is why I'm counting him here, but he was really a bit part. And then Charles Henkel is, of course, Tobias's father, and he is one of Tobias's personalities, but also he was shown as a separate character in flashbacks to Tobias's childhood while they were trying to build his character in this episode. And so because he is appearing in those flashbacks, I am counting him as a separate character. And that all brought us up to 12 points. But 2 points were taken because the episode is only semi-memorable. It's memorable solely because of the one that follows it, which is very memorable. But as I was like looking at this one, I knew it was the same killer as the next episode, and I know what happens in the next episode, but this one I didn't really remember until it started going, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's how it got started. So, semi-memorable. Um, Honorable mention. I was debating on giving negative messaging or behavior to Reed because of the fact that they split up, and JJ didn't really think it was a good idea, but Reed kind of split up anyways. But I don't think that's breaking any rules. I just think that's a bad choice. And so I'm not counting it as negative messaging or behavior, though it does lead to a negative outcome. And I just wanted to honorably mention that. So overall, 10 out of 10 for this episode. Which brings us to our mostly objective ranking. And we have in first, North Mamon, Profiler Profiled, No Way Out. This episode is fourth place, The Big Game, and it is fourth because when more than one episode has the same score, we rank in episode order. Then we have The Fisher King 2, Aftermath, Empty Planet, The Perfect Storm, The Boogeyman, The Last Word, Lessons Learned, P911, Sex, Birth, Death, and then in 14th place, Psychodrama. My personal ranking for this episode is also quite high. Like I said, the next episode is the one that's memorable to me and sticks in my mind. But I think that this was a really good lead-in episode to that. I think that it really fleshed out, our killer. It fleshed out what his mission is, the crimes. I do like the way that they kind of made it seem almost like there was another person for most of the episode by not showing, but only like having the conversations, but not showing any characters on screen, just the voices, which were changing. I thought that was really clever until at the end of the episode when he's holding Reed at gunpoint and you can see him talking to himself, making both the voices. And Gideon, of course, suspects ahead of time that potentially they are dealing with somebody with a split personality. Um, I found the episode overall to be entertaining and engaging, so that's also a positive. But it is still a fact that it was only semi-memorable, that while I knew it led into the next episode, it did take me a while to figure out where we were, but I also like because this was like an episode that they were using like the same killer in like this episode and the next episode, they also did spend a little bit more time on like the team at the beginning of the episode. There was them at a bar and everybody interacting at the bar with some other agents that are repeat agents. Basically, they are FBI agents that we have seen as like bit parts who have led them through investigations before at the bar, and then we had, Derek dancing, Penelope watching him dance, Reed playing like a quiz game with a couple of people, JJ playing darts, Aaron was there with his wife, which they seem to be in a better place than when we last saw them because they both seem to be very happy at the bar, so maybe they're going through some marriage counseling, I don't know, but they seem to be doing better. Emily was getting drinks for everybody, so we also got a lot more of like the characters interacting outside of work, which I thought was interesting because we haven't really seen that fully before. Like we've seen them in bits and pieces outside of work, but not all together in one place outside of work, such as the bar. Of course, Jason was at the Smithsonian, not included at the bar, but either way, I found the entire episode to be interesting, but again, not the most memorable, which is why I decided to give it a 9 and not a 10. 9 because the killer is compelling, the murders were compelling, and like their disturbingness. For example, the woman getting eaten by dogs, because at least they didn't show that on screen, but they showed the preparation for it, so it was kind of obvious what was about to happen. Um, like I said, I just thought it was a very strong episode, but again, a little bit unmemorable, or not unmemorable, semi-memorable. And now that I'm starting to repeat myself and fishing for things to say, I will just go into the personal ranking list. And we've got Profiler profiled in first, North Mammon. I put this episode in third, The Big Game, followed by Aftermath, The Boogeyman, Psychodrama, The Last Word, The Fisher King 2, No Way Out, Sex, Birth, Death, Empty Planet, The Perfect Storm, Lesson Learned, and P911 is currently in 14th. Bringing us now to the series ranking so far, and we have our mostly objective ranking with 95 out of 230 for this season so far, and the personal ranking is at 111 out of 230 so far. But with that, we have now rewatched and ranked Criminal Minds Season 2, Episode 14, The Big Game. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.